Everyone's rushing to buy gold. Coins, bars, ETFs, people on podcasts telling you to liquidate your retirement account and turn it into shiny metal like it's some kind of financial salvation. And when real collapse comes, not a bad market week, not a rough quarter, they're going to be the most well-decorated corpses in the rubble. Here's what the gold crowd won't tell you, because saying it would kill their business model in a single sentence. In the first 90 days of genuine societal breakdown, power gone, supply chains shattered, government nowhere to be found, gold is nearly useless. You cannot eat it. You cannot sanitize a wound with it. You cannot use it to make river water safe for your child to drink. When Leningrad was under siege for nearly 900 days during World War II, and close to 1 million civilians died primarily from starvation, what were people actually trading? Matches, a pinch of salt, a small bottle of iodine. Things you could buy today for loose change sitting in your car's cup holder. Gold jewelry sat untouched in dresser drawers while people froze to death a few feet away from it. Gold is a contract, and in collapse, contracts are the very first thing to become worthless. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 items. Combined cost under $50. Each one proven in actual documented collapses across 4 continents and a century of history. Not prepper theory. Not survival fantasy. Real historical barter currencies that transformed ordinary people into the most valuable member of their community. And at the end, I'll give you the one trading rule that can literally determine whether you survive the transaction. Ignore it, and the trade might be the last one you ever make. If you're new here, I'm your favorite trash panda, and I turn chaos into checklists. Subscribe if you want to be the one people come to when it all falls apart. Not the one doing the asking. Let's count down from 7, all the way to the single most powerful barter item in collapse history. Number 7, the $2 franchise Heirloom Seed packets. Yes, the ones hanging near the garden tools at your local hardware store for about $2 each. A single packet of heirloom tomato seeds holds roughly 25 to 30 seeds. Each of those seeds, under reasonable growing conditions, can produce a plant that yields 10 to 20 pounds of tomatoes per season. Do that math. You're looking at potentially 500 pounds of food from a $2 investment. Find me a stock with that return in a single growing season. During the Great Depression, backyard food gardens weren't about patriotism. They were about staying alive. By 1943, those small plots were responsible for roughly 40% of all vegetable consumption in the United States. Not industrial agriculture. Ordinary people with patches of dirt. A more recent example hits harder. When Cuba lost its Soviet supply chain in 1991 practically overnight, fuel, fertilizer, food imports, all gone, urban farming became the line between mass starvation and survival. Havana went from virtually no urban gardens to producing the majority of its own fresh produce within city limits. Rooftops, parking lots, old tire stacks filled with soil. And the people who held seeds weren't just eating, they were protected. Neighbors brought them labor. Local groups offered security. Because seeds aren't a product, they're a production system. An infinite income stream from a $2 starting cost. Critical detail. Most people get wrong. You need heirloom seeds, not hybrid varieties. Hybrid plants won't reproduce true to type. The seeds from their harvest are a genetic coin flip. Heirloom seeds reproduce faithfully, generation after generation. One packet becomes an endless food source. Store them cool, dry, and dark. Mylar bags with silica gel packets work well. Most vegetable seeds stay viable 3 to 5 years. Some varieties push 7 to 10 with proper storage. Barter value in week 1. Moderate. Nobody's thinking about gardens while panic buying canned goods. But by month 3, when people realize canned food has a bottom and gardens don't, seed holders become the most important people on the block. The most valuable thing in a post-collapse world costs less than your morning coffee. But sure, keep buying gold. I'm certain the tomato plants will accept payment in Krugerrands. Number 6. The shoebox, pharmacy, over-the-counter medicine, and basic first aid supplies. Pay attention to this next part. In a world where pharmacies no longer exist, a minor infected cut, the kind you'd cover with a Band-Aid and forget about, can become fatal. Before antibiotics, mortality rates from basic skin infections ran between 10 and 30%. A paper cut that went wrong, a popped blister, a scraped knee, any of these could kill a healthy adult. After Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico in 2017, the island's medical infrastructure didn't just take damage, it effectively ceased to function. Pharmacies were emptied within days. Hospitals ran on backup generators until the diesel ran out, and then they ran on nothing. For months, people who had even basic medical supplies became de facto community medics. A single bottle of ibuprofen was being divided into individual pills and traded for food. Not the bottle. One pill, one meal. That's how quickly ordinary medicine becomes extraordinary when the system that makes it ordinary collapses. During the 2020 Lebanese economic crisis, when the national currency lost roughly 95% of its value nearly overnight, hospitals that had been fully functional in January were rationing electricity by June. Pharmacies didn't become battlegrounds over painkillers or controlled substances. They became battlegrounds over basic ibuprofen, antibiotic ointment, and bandages. The boring stuff. The stuff no one thinks about until they desperately need it. And by then the shelves have been bare for days. Your medical barter starter kit, total cost under $15, ibuprofen, pain, fever, inflammation. Acetaminophen, same targets, different mechanism, stock both. Diphenhydramine, allergic reactions and sleep support. Triple antibiotic ointment, infection prevention on any open wound. Butterfly bandages and adhesive wound closures for when proper stitches aren't an option. Electrolyte packets. Dehydration kills faster than hunger. Rotate your stock every 18 months. Barter value. Immediate and permanent. Unlike almost everything else, medicine doesn't lose trade value over time. It gains it. Every day without resupply, your Tylenol becomes worth more. 500 ibuprofen tablets at a warehouse store runs about $8. In collapse conditions, each tablet could be worth a meal. That's a 500 to 1 return on investment. Wall Street would do considerably worse things than it already does for those numbers. Number 5, the Dignity Trade Soap, toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, toilet paper, razors. Here's what the tactical gear community never addresses: the psychological collapse that sets in when people lose the ability to maintain basic hygiene. This isn't vanity. It's the last thread connecting a person to their own identity as a functioning human being. Cut that thread, and mental deterioration follows food scarcity faster than you'd expect. After the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, aid organizations documented something that surprised almost everyone on the ground. When survivors were surveyed about urgent needs after the initial 72-hour window, hygiene products consistently ranked alongside food and water. Not below them, alongside them. People who had gone weeks without bathing were exhibiting serious psychological deterioration, severe depression, withdrawal, complete erosion of survival motivation. The UN Refugee Agency now classifies hygiene kits as a Tier 1 priority alongside food rations, not because of bureaucratic policy, but because field experience taught them that humans stripped of basic dignity stop fighting to survive. During Syria's civil war, in blockaded areas where supply lines were cut for months at a time, a single bar of soap was documented trading at the equivalent of a full day's wages. Feminine hygiene products were essentially priceless. Women improvised with whatever cloth they could find. This wasn't a century ago. This was 2016. In a country that, a decade earlier, had functioning universities, shopping centers, and a middle class. Collapse doesn't come with a warning label. It just arrives. This is the easiest inventory to build. Buy one extra of everything each shopping trip. Bar soap outlasts liquid and works for hands, body, and laundry. Travel-size products make perfect individual barter units. Feminine hygiene products. Stock these regardless of your personal needs. They appear in the top 3 barter categories in every documented collapse scenario without exception. Safety razors with replacement blades beat disposables. The razors don't run out. Only the blades need replacing. Barter value, consistently high immediately after collapse, and emotionally elevated. meaning people will overpay. When someone hasn't brushed their teeth in 2 weeks, they will trade generously for toothpaste. You're not selling hygiene, you're selling dignity. And dignity has no ceiling price. Number 4, the 5,000-year currency salt. And hear me out before you scroll. Salt has functioned as currency for over 5,000 years. The English word salary traces back to the Latin word for salt. Roman soldiers were partially compensated with it. Wars were fought over salt routes. Civilizations rose and fell based on who controlled its distribution. It is arguably the oldest currency in human history, and the reason hasn't changed. Salt isn't seasoning, it's survival infrastructure. Before refrigeration, salt was the only reliable method for preserving meat for extended periods. Your body cannot maintain basic function without adequate sodium. Saline solution is a foundational medical tool. From bread to cheese to fermentation, salt is embedded in core food production. In post-war Germany during the occupation years, before currency reform restored economic stability in 1948, the black market ran on a short list of reliable exchange items. American cigarettes get most of the historical attention, but basic table salt was trading at rates that seem impossible in retrospect. In the winter of 1946, a kilogram of salt could purchase a week's bread ration in certain occupied zones, not because Germany lacked salt deposits, but because distribution networks had completely disintegrated. The salt that existed was controlled by whoever had the foresight to stockpile it before the bombs stopped falling. Access beats abundance. That lesson applies to every item on this list. Spices are the morale multiplier. Hot sauce, black pepper, garlic powder, these transform inedible food into something a human being can actually eat. When you've survived on plain boiled rice for 3 weeks, the person who produces hot sauce is a local legend. Morale isn't a luxury in survival conditions. Morale is what keeps people operational. A 25-pound bag of iodized salt from a warehouse store costs around $5. Stored properly, salt doesn't expire. It's a mineral. Repackage into single-cup portions. That's approximately 50 individual barter units from one $5 purchase. And because it's so ordinary, almost no one stockpiles it. While everyone else is buying tactical gear, I'm in the bulk aisle with a cart full of Mortons, thinking about who's still going to be eating in 6 months. Number 3. The liquid multi-tool miniature liquor bottles. The airline size ones. 50 milliliters each, roughly $1 a piece. And they may be the most versatile barter item in existence, because alcohol isn't just a drink, it's a disinfectant, a topical painkiller, a sleep aid, a wound cleaner, a fire accelerant, a social lubricant for tense negotiations, a preservative for herbal preparations, and in circumstances where everything has gone wrong, it makes a terrible day fractionally less terrible. During the Greek financial crisis between 2012 and 2015, when ATM withdrawals were capped at €60 per day, banks shuttered for weeks at a time, and neighborhoods improvised barter networks because cash had effectively disappeared. Alcohol emerged as one of the most reliable exchange mediums. Not due to cultural stereotypes, but because alcohol is universally recognized as having inherent value, it doesn't spoil, and it serves multiple practical functions beyond consumption. Community barter markets documented across Athens and Thessaloniki consistently placed alcohol in the top 5 most traded categories, alongside olive oil and medicine. Go further back to the Soviet dissolution in 1991, when the ruble became effectively worthless and an entire superpower's economy imploded within months. Vodka functioned as a parallel currency across Russia for nearly a decade. Factory workers were sometimes paid in bottles because vodka held value more reliably than the national currency. Rural economies ran on it. Plumbers, electricians, and doctors rendered services in exchange for spirits. That's documented economic history from the largest country on Earth. Not a joke, not an exaggeration. Why miniature bottles specifically? Portion control. You never open a full bottle for a single trade. Variety. Stock high-proof vodka for medical use, whiskey for drinking, pure grain alcohol for fire starting. Shelf life. Sealed miniatures last indefinitely. Discretion, small, quiet, and easy to conceal. You don't want your neighborhood knowing you have a liquor store in your back room. Barter value, universally high. Dependency is a powerful market force, and I say that without judgment. In a world without anesthesia, a shot of spirits before someone extracts a damaged tooth with improvised tools isn't recreational drinking. It's the closest approximation to medical care available. Understanding alcohol as a multi-tool that happens to be drinkable is not encouraging drinking. It's accurate assessment of historical reality. Number 2, $3, between you and cholera water purification tablets. 50 tablets for $3. Each tablet purifies 1 liter. That's 50 liters of confirmed safe drinking water for less than a gas station coffee. Now consider the other side. Without clean water, waterborne illness symptoms develop within roughly 48 hours in most people. Cholera can kill a healthy adult in 12 hours through dehydration alone. When Cyclone Idai struck Mozambique in March 2019, flooding contaminated water sources across more than 1.5 million people's supply in 3 countries simultaneously. Within 2 weeks, cholera cases surged past 1,000. Within a month, over 5,000 confirmed cases. International response was significant, but the gap between disaster and aid arrival was measured in weeks, not days. It always is. Without exception, the people who fared best in that gap were those who had any form of water purification, tablets, filters, or even solid knowledge of correct boiling protocols. They didn't get sick. Their children didn't get sick. And their neighbors started appearing at their doors. The same pattern emerged after the 2015 Nepal earthquake. After Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013, after every infrastructure collapse in documented history, it is so consistent it might as well be a physical law. Clean water becomes the most critical survival resource within 72 hours of infrastructure failure. Not food. The human body can function for weeks without eating. Not shelter. Shelter can be improvised from almost anything. Water. 3 days without it and organ failure begins. There is no improvising water purity. 3-tier strategy. Tier 1. Immediate. Purification tablets. Lightweight, inexpensive, zero skill required. Buy a minimum of 200 for about $12. This is your barter stock and personal supply simultaneously. Tier 2. Medium term. A gravity-fed household filter for volume purification. Tier 3. Permanent. The knowledge to construct a charcoal filter from found materials and correct boiling protocols. Knowledge is the one supply that cannot be looted. Barter value in week 1, moderate. After the first cholera case appears, and it always appears, through the roof. Clean water transitions from assumed background resource to, I'll trade you my car faster than any other commodity. $3. People spend more than that on a flavored sparkling water. If you don't have water purification right now, close this, order some, come back. I'll be here. Number 1. The king of collapse, a disposable lighter, a $1 Bic lighter. The most ordinary object in your junk drawer. In genuine collapse conditions, it is worth more than its weight in gold. Literally, during the North Korean famine of the 1990s, known domestically as the Arduous March. An estimated 2 to 3 million people died of starvation as the state economy ceased to function. Official distribution systems produced nothing. Ration documents became scrap paper. Informal black markets became the real economy, like the only economy. In the northern border regions, where winter temperatures dropped below -20°C and every hillside within walking distance had been stripped of firewood, the ability to produce fire was not a convenience. It was the difference between surviving the night and not. Testimony gathered by researchers and human rights organizations from those who eventually escaped documents lighters and matches among the highest value items traded in those markets, exchanged for food, medicine, and labor at rates that dwarfed their original cost by orders of magnitude. A single functioning lighter could feed a family for days because fire is the master resource. Fire purifies water. Fire cooks food, and cooking destroys the pathogens that turn a scavenged meal into a death sentence. Fire provides warmth. Fire is light in darkness. Fire is a signal. Fire is a defensive tool. And fire does something that nothing else on this list does. Something in the evolved human brain quiets down around a flame. Communities gather around fires. Hope survives around fires. It's not sentiment. It's 100,000 years of hard wiring. The math is straightforward. A BIC lighter costs about $1.50 and produces approximately 3,000 ignitions. A 10-pack runs $12. 50 lighters, $60 total, is a serious post-collapse barter account. Store them in cardboard away from heat and direct sunlight.
No.
The butane doesn't evaporate through an intact seal. Shelf life is 7 to 10 years properly stored. One additional move, stock both lighters and ferrocerium rods. The lighters are your barter currency, what you trade. The ferro rod is your personal fire insurance. It functions when lighters fail, it works wet, and you never trade it away. The lighters are inventory. The ferro rod is infrastructure. One universal truth across every collapse economy I've researched. The person who controls fire controls the terms of survival. You don't need a bunker. You don't need an arsenal. You need a drawer full of BIC lighters and the judgment to trade them carefully. The rules of the wasteland market. You have your collapse portfolio. 7 items under $50 combined, everyone historically proven. None of it matters without these rules. Because bad trades don't just cost you supplies.
Absolutely.
They can cost you your life. Rule 1. Never trade from home. Use a neutral location, a parking lot, an intersection, any public space. The moment someone knows where your supplies are stored, you become a target. It doesn't matter how friendly the exchange was. Desperation rewrites people's ethics faster than you'd believe. The most trustworthy person on your block becomes unpredictable when their family hasn't eaten in 4 days. Rule 2.
And I mean it.
Never reveal your full inventory. Bring a separate barter bag, a small purpose-packed kit that looks like everything you have. Bring only what you intend to trade. If someone asks what else you're holding, the answer is always, this is it. The appearance of scarcity protects you in 2 ways. It eliminates you as a robbery target, and it strengthens your negotiating position. Rule 3.
Well, perhaps
Always bring a partner. One person trades, one person watches. No exceptions. The trader handles the exchange. The partner stays back, stays alert, and monitors everything. The counterpart, the environment, anyone approaching, anyone observing from a distance. The single most common security failure in documented collapse trading is going alone. 2 people changes the math entirely. Rule 4. Start high, settle in the middle. Collapse barter follows the same negotiation psychology as every other market. The first offer is never the real offer. If your lighter is worth a week of food, open by asking for 2. Allow a counteroffer. Meet somewhere between. Both sides feel they won. That's how you build repeat trading relationships. And in collapse conditions, repeat relationships are worth more than any single transaction. Rule 5. Read the room. If someone seems too aggressive, too interested in your location, too curious about what else you're carrying, walk away. No trade justifies an ambush the following morning. And the deadly mistake, the one rule people break out of ego or short-sightedness: never trade weapons. I don't care if they're offering a month's worth of food for a firearm. The weapon you trade today could be directed at you tomorrow. You are literally arming someone whose desperation level you have already confirmed is extreme. That is not a trade. That is a countdown. This is documented repeatedly. After Libya's government fell in 2011, weapons that circulated from military stockpiles didn't just change hands, they fueled conflicts across multiple countries for years. Scale that to your neighborhood. The principle is identical. Every weapon you trade away is a threat you've manufactured with your own hands. Ammunition falls in the same category. Every round you hand over is a round that no longer requires you to supply but still exists in the world, potentially aimed in your direction. The math is not complicated. The discipline to resist the temptation is what's hard. 7 items. Under $50. Historically proven. 7. Heirloom Seeds. The infinite food franchise. 6. Over-the-counter medicine. When a Band-Aid becomes priceless. 5. Hygiene Products. The last thread of humanity. 4. Salt and spices. 5,000 years of monetary history. 3. Miniature alcohol. The multi-tool you can drink. 2. Water Purification Tablets. $3 between you and cholera. 1. Disposable Lighters. Because whoever controls fire controls everything. If you made it this far, You're not average. You're the type who prepares while everyone else assumes. Hit subscribe. The Trash Panda has more secrets, and they only get more serious from here. Stay sharp. Stay stocked. Stay alive.